until the end of the year. Brent crude is currently changing hands at $84.31 a barrel. That's up 5.5% so far this morning. Joining me now is Victor Katona. He's lead crude analyst at Kepler. Victor, good morning to you. I mean, this is, of course, on top, we should remind people, of a $2 million barrel per day production cut that was announced in October.
Absolutely. OPEC is doing everything, OPEC Plus, I should say, is doing everything that it can to control a price floor, which is palatable, which is to the enjoyment of all the members. And effectively, it's putting through a very strong political message. And that message is really manifold. First of all, OPEC Plus is really dissatisfied with how things have been going, with effectively a string of macroeconomic woes destroying oil prices for them. Because Brent at 70 is not palatable, even though supply and demand balances are pretty much the same as they used to be. Also, OPEC Plus is saying the NOPEC bill in the United States is not palatable. They are saying it loud and clear, we will react. And I would even say that there's a little sort of, as an undergirding story, OPEC Plus is also saying that the fact that the US is not buying back the SPRs the way that it promised to be is also not palatable. So it's a very strong political message. It's very poignant from the Saudi Arabians that they are doing this effectively 3 days after they've said that they will be joining the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So there's a pivoting in the oil markets towards Asia, towards more alignment with the Asian interest than with any other interest in the Atlantic Basin, for that matter.
Yes, you touched on there the strategic reserve. The Biden administration said only last week it wouldn't be topping that up after drawing down quite heavily. That seems to have annoyed the Saudis. But why has the Biden administration taken that approach?
I think the Biden administration just doesn't really want to anger a lot of its stakeholders. It doesn't want to be seen as an administration that's pro-oil or in any way conducive to oil prices being high. So ultimately, it will wait. It will wait when taken action will be sort of politically palatable. Right now, it's not. Even though technically everything was about to be the SPR replenishment. We had WTI even lower than the $67 to $72 per barrel bandwidth that initially was put out by the White House as the interval. When oil prices drop to that level, we'll start buying. They didn't do it. In fact, when oil prices or WTI prices were 65, the Energy Secretary of the United States went out saying that we'll be postponing some of the repurchases into next year, 2024. So again, it has become kind of a nuisance for the Biden administration, oil as such. And because they perceive it to be that difficult politically, they just don't do anything. They delay decision until next term, next administration, whatever that might be.
Now, you raised a very interesting point just now, Victor, as well, when you said there was an Asian dimension to that. Now, Beijing, of course, has just brokered a diplomatic deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Is it possible that China is behind this decision, or it's had some influence on it, some bearing?
Well, I think that the Chinese would not like overall higher oil prices. However, the Chinese have one thing which most countries, for instance, in the Western world don't really have, and that is security of supply. Literally last week, so again, what a time to be alive, just so many things happening at the same time. Literally last week, Saudi Arabia, or Saudi Aramco to be specific, bought a minority stake in China's largest private refiner. Not only that, it has also signed an exclusive supply agreement with another refiner. So effectively, the Chinese have contracted Saudi barrels to such an extent that they are the largest market for Saudis. So even though prices are high, the Chinese will always know that there's crude for them. Now, with more than 1 million barrels per day off of the market starting from May, not everyone is so secure. Not everyone is so sure that they will get the crude that they want. And even more specifically, not everyone is so sure that they will get the crude of the quality that they want, because it might end up that you have a lot of light sweets, but specifically the medium sours that the Middle East has always been specializing in, those will be very scarce. And again, that's a privilege. That's a benefit to the Chinese. They can always rely on the Saudis to supply their barrels. Everyone else will just have to rely on the spot market, which is tough.
Absolutely. Now, Victor, what are the chances, do you think, of these production cuts holding? Because in the past, where we've seen production cuts announced, the price goes up, and then some producers are tempted by the higher prices to carry on pumping at the normal rate. I mean, Russia in particular is notorious for that. Will this production cut hold?
I think it will hold, but there will be some point of or some moment of disappointment when a lot of people will realize that the 500,000 production cut that Saudi Arabia has pledged has in a way already been taking place over the past couple of months, in a sense that Saudi Arabia has been underperforming its quota in January, March 2023. So they will not cut outright the 500,000. They will be just producing less than they should. And the real production cut would be somewhere in between 200,000 and 300,000 barrels. So that's the only thing that's going to hit the market at some point. But overall, seeing how willing OPEC Plus is in having that price floor and having at least $80 per barrel for Brent, if not more, I think that the production cut story will stay throughout 2023. The only real story concerning the production cuts will be, will Saudi Arabia genuinely cut 500,000 or will it be less? I think it will be less. But in terms of maintaining a political message that we're serious about the price floors, we're serious about what's going on with supply and demand balances and the overall dynamics, and we will take action whenever that's required, that will not change. That's the new OPEC Plus mentality and the new OPEC Plus narrative that they're pushing out.
All right, Victor, we've got to leave it there. Appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.